Hello, everybody. I'm Terrill, Patterson, owner of Relly's Hospitality. We are here in Los Angeles, California with our Hospitality Town Hall panel here at the Gathering Spot in West Adams. Today, we have a beautiful panel of industry experts that will speak about the hospitality industry, the past, the present, and the future. Okay? Today is very special because it's a nice summer day, I believe. Is it summer yet? It's always sunny in Los Angeles, California. This is how we'll do this today. So we will have each panelist speak one at a time. Okay, they will speak about 15 minutes on the past, present, and future of hospitality in their sector. When they're done, our moderator Aiyesha here will ask them a question, and then we'll open the questions up to any of you in the crowd here. Okay. Now, when you answer these questions, when you ask these questions, please be mindful. So we're going to say our first name, last name, industry, and the question. We're going to try to keep the question to a sentence, maybe two, and one question, not 3 and 1, okay? All right. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it all over to Aiyesha here. Thank you. And we'll start this thing.
All right. Everybody feeling good? All right, everybody feeling good? All right, got some drinks flowing. That's what I'm talking about. All right, so we're going to jump right into it, and we're starting with Chef Jay. How can Los Angeles culinary scene continue to grow and attract top talent while maintaining high standards in food quality and service?
I would say just learn. Just keep learning. You can never get complacent in what you do. Try new cuisines. You can also travel. I learned a lot about culinary sectors doing a lot of my traveling.
We can open it up to some people. Anybody have a question for Chef Jay? One of the chefs here in Los Angeles mainly does private.
Okay, I got a question.
Right?
I'm going to give you one good question. If you could change... if you had to start all over again, what would you do to either get to where you are now or skip a bunch of steps that you had, a bunch of steps if you had to, like the ones that weren't great?
For me, I would pay taxes.
Okay, what you mean? What you mean about the taxes part? What you mean? What part? What do you mean? What do you mean? Elaborate for me.
No, it's just a thing to where, like, you have to really learn the business. You have to learn the ins and outs. When I first started, I was a sole proprietor, and I was able to climb the ropes. And then from there, I went to a LLC, and I thought that was it. And so when I got in a certain tax bracket, I had to get a CPA, had to get a bookkeeper, and had to do all of these things like the book says. So my advice for anybody that's trying to get into this, just make sure you do your paperwork for the most part.
Okay, so it sounds like you up there. But he got a CPA, okay.
I'm glad you said that because you have, people now that are influencers and getting crazy money at, a very small period of time, and they're not thinking about taxes or Uncle Sam and any of that kind of stuff. They just see the money flowing in. So thank you for mentioning that because you can't forget about Uncle Sam, right? All right. Any other questions? Yes.
All right. I'm Anthony Wells. I'm a bartender out here. I'm also a food enthusiast as well. And I just have a question. Let's see. So for a person who is a private chef for high clientele, what are some roadblocks that you find yourself in? And are you cooking for, just a small family, or are you cooking for multiple clients at the same time? And how big is your team?
I have a team of maybe like 4 people. And as for right now, I work hands-on with an NBA player Monday through Friday. I'm in charge of his rehabilitation. He's out for the season towards ACL. And so my main thing is just to make sure he maintains his weight, and whatever goals he has, I have to implement them and make sure they come to life.
Are there
Paul Masterson, brand ambassador on the alcohol world, been in hospitality for about 20 years. I'm just wondering, when you're working with some of these professional athletes, how do you come up with these like meal plans, et cetera? Is it stuff that they want? Is it sometimes, are you working with their doctors, et cetera, where you're like, hey, I've got to get you to eat these vegetables and I'm going to make it delicious? Like, what is it? Can you tell me a little bit of like what that looks like in terms of for the individual versus the family versus parties of, this is something that I don't know anything about.
So for me, I do everything underneath the umbrella because I don't want to be in one lane. So I offer meal prep, day-to-day services, I travel, and I also cater. So I would say if it's a player, we would go over the dietary restrictions and some of the goals that they have in mind, and the do's and don'ts and whatever restrictions, and that's pretty much it. But I have to do a lot of reading. You know, some of my clients, the blood type, the different macros and, you know, proteins and calorie count, different things like that. So like I said, you have to do a lot of reading and basically get to know your client.
Thank you for that.
Whoa, okay. And we have one more question here.
Okay.
How y'all doing? So I guess my question is more or less pretty much for everybody on the panel. My bad. First name is Isaac, last name is Laurie. I'm in the supply chain and procurement field. So, and I guess it's kind of where my question is coming down the line, right? So for you spoke about like the quality of the food. So my aspect of the question is like, is it a thought where your farm to table is kind of important for you, like the quality and the level of the food? And then for those who are in the more spirit side, with these wonderful tariffs and things coming, you know, because we have things from like Mexico and other countries and whatnot, right? Is it kind of important you to look at other maybe black or brown countries to get things from, or more alcohols that are kind of made here and kind of focus on those, or is it something that's kind of come up in conversation yet?
For the most part, I do sometimes go from farm to table. It just depends on obviously the client and if I'm in the city or if I'm out of state. It's really no certain lane. I try to, you know, stay versatile. So it's not really a black or brown type thing. It's just like whatever my client wants. And for the most part, I do a lot of shopping at the farmer's market. I have to pay very close attention to what I give my clients because they are athletes. Last year, I was working with Shohei Ohtani before he got signed to the Dodgers. And due to the fact that he was Asian, I had to do sushi, yellowtail, different things like that to keep him interested because you're dealing with taste buds. So you don't want to get the client bored. You want to keep them happy and keep them intrigued. So, you know, he dealt with a lot of different proteins, but for the most part, I go to like Farmers Market, Bristol Farms, Erewhon for some of the high-end stuff to keep them right.
And for the other part of your question, for the people who does deal with spirits, I'm going to have them answer that when it's their time, okay? Thank you for that. All right, so we are moving right on. Thank you, Chef Jay, for that.
You're welcome.
Up next, we're going to go with Miss Pia. You're right there. We're going to go with you next. Miss Pia Days, a celebrity mixologist here in LA. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Pia Days, like days of the week. And I own Chocolate Tender's mobile bartending business, and I'm also a resident mixologist on Access Hollywood. Born and raised in Miami, Florida, with Bahamian descent, so I'm really proud of that. But I love palm trees and beaches, so that's why I'm here in LA. I would say that in order for the past, the present, and the future, there's a lot that's been changing over the years. I will say that for me, I was able to catapult my career a lot during the pandemic. I called it a pandemic plus. During the pandemic, I was able to create the Savage Cocktail Challenge, which we did classy, bougie, ratchet cocktails. So we would do a classic cocktail, then we would do a, bougie cocktail and then a ratchet cocktail at home with what you had. Because believe it or not, we are an essential service, which we learned during the pandemic. Everyone was like, what drinks can I make? I can't go out, I can't do anything. I'm like, do you have a juice box? do that. Do you have, some hot sauce in your fridge? Okay, now you have a spicy margarita. So we're definitely very innovative. We are, again, pillars of the community. And so in the past, women weren't even allowed in bars, without having the man next to them order for them, right? And to speak from my own past, my grandmother, she said, oh, no. She, again, from Bahamas, 15 children. She knew the way to make a living is in the bar industry and real estate industry. So she wound up owning her bar during that time when women were even allowed in bars. So I said, well, if she can do it, that's what constantly keeps me going. Like, I have no excuse, And my parents were able to own it then. I grew up around it, but I was anti-bar. I'm like, I'm not going to bartend. I moved here to act. Everyone does that. No. So I decided to substitute teach. Well, there was a summertime, and I didn't have a job. So guess what? I wound up waiting tables. My boss said, guess what? You're running all the drinks by Monday. It's Thursday. You have the weekend. You're going behind the bar. I said, I'm only here for a summer. He said, you're going behind the bar. And so that's what happened with me. And that's how I wound up falling back in love with what was already within me from my grandmother. And once I was back there, I never went back on the floor. I just loved, creating cocktails, craft cocktails, the classics. So in the present, I just think we've come so far. Like when I started Chocolate Tenders 12 years ago, there weren't bartenders of color, definitely not female bartenders of color. And female bartenders in the industry were like, are you cute? Can you wear these fishnets? We don't even care if you can make a drink. And it was my point to say, no. Cocktails come first, and then comes everything else. So I definitely made it a point to make sure that we were dressed appropriately. We were definitely, up to par and looking professional, but the cocktails come first. That's the through line through it all, past, present, and future. Cocktails come first. Coming from the past, even from slavery and different things like that, the mixers that we use, everything that we use was from produce, right? Everything that we grew, we put in our cocktails. So if you were to grow, mint, there was a sign of, oh, I have agriculture in my background. Like, this is my crop. I'm proud of it. So even today, in the present, when we're able to garnish cocktails, we're proud of it because it's something that makes a mark and makes our cocktail stand out. So all of this isn't new. It's always been a through line. The cocktail culture has always been a through line from the past to the present and moving on to the future. I think that we need to definitely go back to the farm to table with cocktails as well. Make sure we're sustainable. Make sure we don't throw away those orange peels and those lemon rinds. Everything has its purpose. Make sure we go back to the classics. Make sure we understand the foundation with any field. You have to do the foundation. You have to know, your mise en place. You have to know, it's the same thing for prepping a cocktail. Understand the foundation, and then you can build upon that. So I definitely think putting forth people that look like you, putting forth your story in your cocktails is what's going to pivot and continue this industry to grow, because we're not a monolith, and neither are our cocktails.
I love that. That was so good.
Thank you.
It's funny that you said that, because obviously during COVID and the pandemic, you kind of was clicked up with who you could be with, because you weren't really outside and you kind of had your own friends. And I know from my friend group back in Atlanta, it was my college friends, and we kind of hung out and did more so, house parties with the same people. Mm-hmm. And I didn't even think about that as far as the cocktails and the drinks. That was a big part. I don't know about y'all, but that was a big part of COVID, because we was at home. We wasn't doing nothing. We was drinking,
Exactly.
How has social media played a part, like, with what you're doing right now?
Social media has played a huge part. Like, that's what gained me traction. Again, because we were at home, specifically during the pandemic. Everyone was at home, from, distillers to brand ambassadors. Everyone was at home. And so for instance, with the challenge, it was like Saturday at 11 a.m., or 2 p.m. our time. And you would tune in and watch it. And from there, I was able to get comfortable behind the camera. I was able to, show that cocktails are far reaching. And that was all through social media. I was in my kitchen. I didn't have a lighting system or anything like that. It was all social media. And word of mouth, people started following me. And before I knew it, I wind up on Access Hollywood, So it's just been a blessing to be able to have a whole segment named after me, to have, cocktails be the forefront of our community, because we really are the pillars of the community. Like, we really are a gathering spot in all of our communities. We all have our cheers. We all have our place where we, gather and commune. And I always say at the end of the day, just like children, everyone wants a little sippy cup and it's be told that they have a voice in this world. They want to be told they had a good day. And that's who we are as bartenders.
Love that. Okay, so let me ask a question. What are the key issues that hospitality workers, especially bartenders and service staff, face daily, and how can businesses better support their success?
Well, I think daily bartenders are facing shutdowns. We're facing having to do 2 and 3 jobs when we were initially signed to do 1. And I think people don't realize how much it takes, how much effort and energy it takes to bartend. Like, I think a lot of people think, oh, you're just making a drink. No, it's a lot, and, I was working at a bar. I was the bartender, the busser, the food server, the cleaner. And it's like, there's no way you can do your job efficiently if you're doing 12 jobs, right? So I think we as an industry need to realize and recognize the importance of the bartender, and they have the same, viability as, say, a chef. You know what I mean? Like, the same thing, the same creativity that goes into cocktails is the same creativity that goes into the food. We all have to work together, front of the house to back of the house. But the bar is the ship that steers the whole thing. We're the ones that are shooting out the drinks. We're the ones that are keeping the rhythm going. We're the ones that are keeping the party flowing. So I think we need to get that respect back. A lot of people think we're uneducated because we're bartenders. So treating your bartenders with respect from the onset. Back in the day, it was just considered, oh, it's a rum and coke. Now we've taken classes. We've traveled around the world. We're brand ambassadors. We're, behind the bar. We're really putting a lot of effort into our craft. So I think it needs to have that respect. And also, I think we need to focus on healthcare as well. Bartending is no joke. It is no joke. It's taxing. It's backbreaking, literally.
Late hours.
Your hands, late hours, your wrists, your neck. Like, I honestly think there should be courses on how to preserve your body as a bartender. No one teaches you this certain way you can hold a bottle that can help preserve you. Or if you're bartending, someone brings you, if a house party, because I do, mobile events as well, and I'll say, give me the 750-liter bottle. Oh yeah, I just bought the bigger bottle because it's cheaper. Well, now my wrists are compromised because you saved $5. You know what I mean? I have to lift this bottle over and over again. So just respecting the craft and respecting the bartender that tells you what to do, because we are experts in our field.
I love that. All right, so we are going to open up some questions. Anybody have a question for this? Yeah.
Anthony Wells, currently a bartender, been in the industry for over a decade. I have a question for you. What does sustainable mean to you? I know, using the whole fruit and all that stuff. What are some interesting techniques that you've picked up in your experience to coin it as sustainable? I know that's a very hot term that's coming out on the market right now.
Right. Definitely. Sustainability is one of those things, those coin terms that we're hearing now. But it's using everything from the top to the bottom, from the peel to the pulp to the seed, bringing it all back to create this cocktail. It's in the syrups that we use. It's in the bitters that we create. It's in everything that you use. If you want to use this vinegar, or, you want to create a shrub, every little thing can be used for something, instead of just throwing it away. Because oftentimes, you'll make an old fashioned, you use the peel and the whole orange is just thrown away. You know what I mean? That can be sourced in orange juice for your next batch. That can be, then you can take the seeds, have a farmer's market for yourself and your own. There's some bars that have, their own farm in the back, literally farm to table. It's not just for food, it's for drinks as well. So to me, that's what sustainability is, using every portion of your cocktail, of the ingredients, and reusing them and repurposing them.
Love that. Thank you. Anybody else? Got one more? Yeah, absolutely. We're going to bring the mic to you so we can hear you.
One or two sentences. Okay, cool. So understanding, Tinned in. Yeah, I know it's a tricky one. So I've been in the industry for 25 years now. This is the community that I know. What people will forget as an ingredient, right? Like you guys talk about fruits and like garnishes and all that. The main ingredient in a cocktail is the spirit. So let's say we have a great gin that we make in the United States or local to your city. Why isn't anyone bringing that forward? Or the whiskey. Jim Beam is being made here. Why do we need to drink a Japanese whiskey, right? Like, why do we need a Scotch whiskey? Like that is that's the most sustainable. And people skip that and they're just like, oh, what about this lemon? What about this garnish? The garnish could come from here, come from Mexico, come from the Americas, but no one looks to see. They completely skip the drink itself, like the bourbon, like what the call is, right? The tequila, whatever it is, like we're not even looking there. For some reason, we just completely skip that, and I want to know why.
So you want to know why we completely skip over? Okay, that's the question. Okay, if anybody want to answer?
So are you saying why we use spirits that aren't simply just American spirits? I think that's a very valid point that you're bringing, and I think in a few years we may not even have a choice. But I think certain brands, certain cultures and countries, they that's what they produce best, right? Barbados rum, Puerto Rico rum, Japan the whiskey, certain Scotland Scotch, certain countries. That's what they do. They're the premium as far as even the water that they use to make it, as far as the climate that is necessary. I think that's why generally we've done that. And that's why in a pantheon of the brands, we have things from everywhere. But to your point, if we were to focus in on American brands and we were to focus in as bartenders and, we have the availability to say, this is the cocktail you should try, I think we can do a better job pushing forth American brands. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. That's actually a great idea. And not only American brands, but local brands. Again, being pillars of the community, let's push it a step further. Let's do LA brands. You know what I mean? Let's do Adams brands. Let's do, there's so many microcosms in this larger industry that we need to possibly hone in further and further and further to make sure that we're keeping everything in-house. So it's a good point. It's something I haven't thought about myself, but perhaps focusing on American brands, focusing on, categorical brands that are in your city could definitely help boost the economy within. So I think that's a good point.
Thank you for that. All right, so we are going to move on to our next panelist. We have Mr. Edwin Cruz here. Hello. He is our Jim Beam West Coast brand ambassador. Go ahead and introduce yourself again and then tell us a little bit.
Awesome, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Edwin Cruz. I'm the American Whiskey Ambassador for the West Coast for James D. Beam Distilling Company. So all of your favorite brands, including all the Jim Beam that's back there, Booker's, Baker's, Knob Creek, Basil Hayden, Old Grandad, Old Overholt, a lot of the good things that y'all are used to drinking. I have been in the industry for just under 20 years. I started off as a bartender. I grew up in the restaurant industry. My parents had restaurants from the time I was like 5 years old. So like that hospitality has kind of been truly in my DNA. And I've always tried to run away from it, and I always get sucked back into it. Yeah, it's one of those things where you just run away from it and you're like, I'm going to do something else. And then all of a sudden you find yourself behind a bar, bored managing a restaurant, and you're trying to figure out, like, what am I going to do? Like, how can I express my creativity? And for me, like, that was the impetus for me coming into the industry. It was part of a showcase of creativity and personality and meeting other people and having fun conversations instead of just, like living your everyday, day-to-day restaurant life. And did that for many years until somebody convinced me to end up working for a brand, and here I am several years later, just working for Jim Beam as the American Whiskey Ambassador. But kind of to touch on your points of past, present, and future, I think in the past when I was just a baby bartender, really learning about the industry, brand ambassadors was kind of revered. They were kind of seen as the upper echelon of where you can go in the industry. It was like the end-all be-all of being in the industry. Everybody strived to be in that space. And
what time was that? Like what year?
This was 2005, 2006. Yeah. So I know when I first started, I started meeting a couple of brand ambassadors, and the one thing that really stuck out to me more than anything that they really embodied was the spirit of hospitality. I My best memories are some of those brand ambassadors really taking me under their wing and embracing the idea of, hey, like, you're new, let me teach you what I know, and let me share these ideas, let me share my knowledge with you so that you can become a better bartender, so that you can become a better person in the hospitality industry, whether you truly love it or not. And I think that in the past, like, that was really the true embodiment of what it was to be a brand ambassador. It wasn't necessarily about the sales. All the sales are always important. Like, promoting your brand is always important, but a lot of it was them bringing their genuine passion for the brand forward, and building on that, and organically building business towards organically building their business, their brand name, through their personality and through their knowledge. I think as we kind of moved into the modern era of brand ambassadors, especially during COVID, it really changed the dynamic of what we were all doing. I know that for certainly a lot of our roles changed. There's been a lot of downsizing in the industry. There's been a lot of changes that have happened, a lot of different goals that companies want. There's such a much more bigger focus on making those numbers for big companies, or even for small companies. We're all strapped. We all want to grow our business to a certain percentage per year, but I think that in its current form, brand ambassador work is kind of difficult, because like, I'm lucky enough to have one of the few. I can count the number of people in my company within Suntory that do not work for sales. I have one of those few roles that do not work for sales, and I consider myself extremely lucky to be able to have one of these roles, because I know that they hardly exist out there. And So now it's kind of a balance game. The current ambassador role, you've got to kind of play that balance game. You've got to understand what it is to grow a business. You've got to kind of be a self-starting entrepreneur in some way, and you've also still have to retain that essence of being in the hospitality industry, of bringing people together, of not just seeing them as a number in front of you, but also seeing them as a person, something of value, something that you can impart the knowledge that you've gained over like what essentially is like 2 or 3 lifetimes of bartending into the role. And so that's kind of how I see where we currently are in the industry. And what I would like to see in the future is kind of a return back to the idea of ambassadors truly embracing that spirit of hospitality, of truly like pushing forward the idea that if you're going to be out there talking about your brand, lead with care, lead with understanding of new bartenders, lead with that knowledge that you have. The brands will follow the whatever brand I can be repping Jim Beam, I could be repping like any other brand, but if I do not treat people with respect, people aren't going to respect my brand either. And I want to see more people kind of embrace that idea of embracing their skills and showcasing what they have brought and what they have learned in the industry, because I know that organically and in the long run, that's more sustainable than somebody pushing cases and cases of alcohol to somebody else. So
Gotta have the relationships, right? Like, that's the
Of course.
word that just kept coming in my head, is like the work that you do, going out at different brands. Like, you have to have the relationship there to be able to have sales, or whatever the case may be.
yeah. It's all relationship based. You're right. Yeah. It's easy to just make it about like you're looking at your spreadsheets and saying,
Right.
look, I need to go here, I need to do this business here. But at the end of the day, like, sustainable business comes from relationships.
So, a question I have
Right.
for you is, what role do brands play in supporting Los Angeles hospitality industry, and how can partnerships between brands and businesses drive better working conditions and guest experiences?
I think that, that's a multifaceted question and answers. I think that number one, I say that we have to lead with hospitality. We have to set that example for new bartenders to coming into the industry. I know that I gained a lot of those examples from people who like truly embodied hospitality, and it made me want to treat people better. So if we're treating the people that are behind the bar with respect when we're sitting in front of their bar, that really just radiates that positive energy, and that encourages people to do better. Just truly from a business side, uh, let's continue to create exciting events and opportunities for folks. If we were the ones with the funding, we're the ones who can truly bring people's ideas to life. It's not necessarily always about like, a brand might have an idea of what they want, but if we aren't able to be flexible and adapt those ideas that a brand might bring to us or that we might have and listen to the bartenders and listen to what ideas they want to bring forward and bring to life, then we're not doing our job. So we can truly be a listening ear and help foster some of that creativity. It's imperative that we do that, or else the industry won't be sustainable in and of itself. Um, I think that we are in a unique position. Most of us have been bartenders at some point. Of us have been in the hospitality industry before, so we can use that knowledge that we have from our cocktail point of view. We can use the knowledge that we have with the business side and use all of it together to help create and foster that creativity for the next generation of people in the industry. And then even beyond that, I think education is extremely important. It's fun to throw a party. It's fun to throw like a cool event somewhere and have a great time with people. But if we're not empowering bartenders, whether that's through brand education or cocktail education, technique, even something as simple as teaching them like basic finances and how to balance their budgets at home. All of those things really compound on each other and build to create stronger, better bartenders and people in the service industry, because then they can come back with confidence and say, hey, like, I feel grounded, I feel connected to my reality, and I can put my true self into hosting people and having people at my bar instead of being distracted about, XYZ thing that's truly bothering me. So you can't truly be in the moment if you don't have those fundamentals like truly locked down. Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so we're gonna take one question. Does anybody have a question for Edwin? Anybody? Right here.
My name is Remo Rivero. I make movies. How do you feel about bartenders moving into online bartending? Do you feel like that's like kind of cheap, or?
I think there's a place in space for everybody. I think that people who are quote unquote like influencer bartenders who want to do like mainly social media stuff, help elevate our brands in a certain way, or help elevate like the standards that we showcase. They help showcase our creativity in ways that other people might not, let us being behind the bar, might not have been able to in the past. Like we were able to maybe service 100 people a night, but they might reach 10,000 people and showcase a cool technique or a cool execution of a cocktail. They may not be able to pump out the volume that you and I can create, but they bring something to the table, and they bring exposure, and they bring attention to the craft that we're bringing. So not necessarily cheating. It's more of like a different way to showcase the abilities that we all have, or that we're all like striving towards.
I love that question. Thank you. All right, anybody else really quickly? You have one over here, Terrill?
Isabel Herman, bartending, crafting. So my question for you is namely about the brand ambassador industry. We're seeing a lot of this go streamlined through devices such as the internet or your massive web ordering things. What are some of the things that you're doing or your reps are doing to have that personal presence within the bars and keeping, the human to human, which is what this whole industry is really about?
Right. I think it's interesting because you have to play a balance game. You have to have, like, as a brand ambassador, I do have to have exposure online, and I do have to make sure that I'm present online. But that never takes the place of showing up in front of somebody's bar and offering a little bit of time and offering a little bit of that hospitality that you've been shown back. It's super important to not kind of fall in the trap of feeling that you can do everything behind your laptop. For a lot of brand ambassadors, it's super easy to kind of fall into the idea that I can just call somebody and they're going to do a favor for me. But sure, will they do a favor? Is that sustainable in the long run? It's potentially not sustainable. But I think that you have to play this really interesting balancing game of continuing to foster things that are elevating bartenders, whether that's like a pop-up or whether that's like a guest bartending night somewhere. You've got to continue building that community, because if we're not the leaders of building community within our industry, whether that's supporting Moya or another rally or Speed Rack or any of these events. If we're not truly engaging with the industry and with our fellow bartenders, we are missing a whole subsection. We might be the biggest presence online. We might have 100,000 views on Instagram, but if we're not having that day-to-day interaction with people, then we're missing a little piece of ourselves, and we're not able to share and show that we actually care about the people who are in our local space and place, no matter how many states or how local we are, or like our territories.
Thank you. All right, so moving on along, we have Mr. Lonnie Finley, founder of I Drink I Can Consulting.
How we doing? Lonnie Finley, yes. I am, like a lot of people here, actor to industry professional. That's how that goes for all of us. So I started actually in the DMV, DC, Baltimore area back in, back in PG County. Anybody? Okay, that's cool. Back in like 05, 06, and then came to LA 2007. For me, it was, you had to, have that secondary job. And I never liked being told what to do. That's just not a thing I like. I don't think anyone really likes being told what to do. So I realized really quickly that the best thing in the restaurant industry that you could do to make money and to not be told what to do was to be a bartender, for the most part, right? So for me, that stood out as the thing that I really gravitated towards wanting to do. But I was in that era, which I'm sure a lot of us experience, where, for me, Black person of color, it's like there was me behind the bar and there was nobody else. Like nobody else, like maybe one person in the kitchen staff, something like that. So it was always a bit of a, not a challenge by any stretch of the imagination, but it was always something where like you didn't see similarities, but you knew you always had to step up, show up, do the best job you're gonna do, set an example. Sometimes more than you see people around you. You're like, what's going on here? I'm getting the extra eye, you're not. So that was something that was always prominent for me. So when I quit bartending for the third time, and that was thankfully to the pandemic, which I know was a tough time for a lot of people. For a lot of bartenders, it was a blessing because we got time off. You got that first Friday where your shoulder wasn't hurting and you were like, what do I do now? And so it was knowing I was going to stay somewhere around the industry. I happened to check in on a place I used to work, which is Barkeeper. Checked in with the owner, see how his wife was doing. And he was like, we're in essential business, man. We're busy. What are you doing? Can you come work? And I was like, all right, yeah, I'll come work. So went into Barkeeper, which was a great transition because obviously the next thing, if I didn't do that, I probably would be a rep somewhere in that department. I just didn't want to drive the miles. I didn't really want to do that. Every time a rep comes around, I'm like, oh, hey, this guy. Not you, I love you.
No offense, Edwin.
I love Edwin, love him. But it was one of those things where I was like, I get to be in a position where we're working with specialty spirits. We really are consulting and curating what we're doing. So from a customer to a bartender to a business owner, anybody that comes into Barkeeper is they're asking a question. We have to have the knowledge of being able to taste the majority of these spirits and be able to kind of decipher what works for them. So what that gave me was a sense of my skills are on display. I can't fake that I don't know this stuff. I have to know this. And so working in Silver Lake, yet again, don't see a lot of people look like me. So it's one of those things where I'm always going to show up and just be an example, but I wanted to be able to break down the barriers for people that what we do in the industry, it is a skill. We have learned it, but from consumer to bartender to everyone behind there, you can do it too. Like I want to be able to show the consumer they can do what I'm doing. For so long time, I feel like there's been this sort of like, I like to say like, twirl of the mustache, suspenders bartender who's a little bit pretentious. And so for me, there's a barrier of entry being like, I can do this and you can't do that. Obviously in 2020, people started doing stuff from home and realizing, oh wait, I can try and do this too. So when they started doing that, they started looking to more thoughtful spirits, things that were not just the regular call brands they're used to seeing in their well. They started saying, well, what if I made my Negroni with this? And so working at a place like Barkeeper, being able to have that conversation with consumers, I saw there's a lot of people who want to learn and continue to grow their knowledge at home bartending. And then as that shifted, it was like, well, things started becoming a little bit more expensive when you go out to the bar. You know, we were like, okay, at one point you were like, oh, this cocktail's $8. Then it was 12 for a little while. Then we had it at 14, we were cool at 14. Now you're at like 16 and 20, you're higher up, and you're like, wait, what are we doing? And so then I'm like, for me, I know how to make the drink. I know what's in the drink. I know what the spirit costs for the drink. So when I go to a bar, I'm like, give me a bottle of beer because I can't pay for this. No, I don't care how great you are, I can't pay for this. So wanting to take that knowledge of what I've learned at Barkeeper and then be able to work with not just the home consumer, but any bartender, anybody who's really interested on how to like add more spirits to your portfolio of what you know, your Rolodex, be able to pull in more stuff that is local, because a lot of bigger brands or stuff are going with call brands and things that we all see. Sometimes these local brands, they have like a 2 or 3 year run and they really can't financially support themselves to stay running because we're not putting them in our bars because sometimes they're not brought to us. Now that means that your bar manager, your business owner needs to maybe do a little bit more research and say, what's local? So for me personally at Barkeeper and also what I do with I Drink I Can, I want to make sure that I'm focusing on not just minority-owned spirits or women-owned spirits, but things people aren't seeing. We've seen a lot of the same things, and like we know what that tastes like. There's a lot of stuff out there that we have access to. Though it is worldwide, the stuff we're purchasing, we do a lot of stuff that's local too. And for me, it's like a big focus to put information on that. And now when people come by for tasting, this is why we're using this, because this money is going to this couple over here who makes this down the street, right? As opposed to, I'm going to say Campari, right? You know, I get it. They don't need me to sell their brand. They're going to make money no matter what. But the smaller couple, maybe they need me to do a little more research for them. So I always want to be able to bring knowledge to people. You can never stop learning. I think that we need to open up our world to our community and then people who don't necessarily fit the mold of what we think and what we're used to seeing. A lot of people have great ideas, but you don't always get to hear from them because it's not what has been traditional. I don't know if any of that makes any sense.
I'm not speaking into it. I love that you spoke about, you know, the couple or the local family because, yeah, sometimes they don't have the big voice. Sometimes they don't know how to use social media, especially if we're talking about older people, older families. So I love that your company is, you know, specifically wanting to reach out and help the smaller companies. I love that. All right, so I have a question for you. All right, what are the biggest challenges hospitality business owners face in Los Angeles today, and what immediate steps can be taken to improve conditions for workers and customers?
I mean, the biggest challenge right now is staying open. Like the biggest challenge is like not closing. The amount of bars we've seen close in the past. You want to switch mics? Oh, sorry. The amount of bars and restaurants we've seen close. I'm sure we all have a friend who has a bar or restaurant, or we worked at that place, or we've seen a longtime staple of Los Angeles close up. It's like left and right. So for me, the reason I bring it back to community is that if you are a business owner, I think you first need to make sure you're supporting your local community directly around you. If you have a bar and people live across the street aren't coming to your bar first, why? Like they should at least stop by for an hour and like check out what you got going on. So for me, it's like you got to start with the community first. Sometimes too, we get a little too flashy. We get a little too like. Sometimes they say cocktail and I'm like, what is going on? What is this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've seen the thing where I'm like, I think this was a Negroni at some point in time, but whatever it is now, you got to stop calling it that. So it's not to say you can't do those things, but like sometimes getting the basic thing right first and then doing some variations on that, like let's do that because we're jumping ahead of doing something well to do something flashy. And now we're adding all these expensive things in there. It's like, try to keep your costs down. I know it's not easy. I mean, it's not easy, but go local. It'll get easier. I like the idea of like locally, like foraging and finding things around here and like really to support your local community. Go to the farmer's market around where you're at. Make sure you win the community right around you first. Make sure people know what's going on. Make sure you do things for like, hey, if you live in like a 4-block radius, yada, yada special. I don't know, just like something where you know that you're going to have people coming in on a regular basis. Then start to branch out from there. I think sometimes things get a little bit too difficult when we want to like be the next yada yada restaurant as opposed to being the open restaurant. So for me, it's like it all starts from there. I do think that there needs to be more communication between the higher ups in businesses and the people who work. There shouldn't be this big gap sometimes. And I think that a lot of that too is also like how we treat the front of house and back of house staff. I love the idea of making sure that our health is important. Because I mean, I think I worked the bartending when you would just like work and you're like, as long as I don't look really, really sick, I'm coming in the day because there's no other option. Like I don't have PTO. I got to be here. So like taking care of our staff, making sure like, hey, like how do you bend and lift a keg? Did you do that by yourself? I used to do a lot of that myself. But like, oh, I can lift a keg. Shouldn't have done it. So it's one of those things where you learn as you grow. And if we can get in on the ground floor with some of this new transitioning bartenders who maybe weren't here for like 10 years ago and really try to focus on educating them and making sure they have resources to reach out if something is wrong, both physically and mentally, help them out so they have a little bit of like a just a community. I think that's what business owners can do, like community. That's it. And hire people that don't look like you.
Yeah, wise words. All right, any questions for Mr. Lonnie? Up here in the front. Up here in the front. Gonna give us your first and last name and what you do.
Brandon Coley, and I'm a financial professional. So I'm curious because you just mentioned, I heard it mentioned earlier, kind of talking about like your health. When we're talking about the food industry or bartenders or whatever, are you normally like W-2 employees or 1099 and contracting? And I'm just asking how you have access to like benefits, whether it be for financial planning or just individual disability insurance. Because if you have an ailment or physically ill, how do you now produce in your space? So I'm just curious about that from your perspective.
I don't even think we're there. I mean, as far as like, I'm not sure the number of employees you have to be covered, but I mean, I don't currently work in a bar. I'm not sure how many bartenders are covered or who feel like maybe if they got hurt, they could go and be covered by insurance. I know usually it's that urgent care run. So I don't think that anything has happened in that department. I'm not sure really what to do about that. I think maybe the business owners need to make sure they treat their bar staff or their restaurant staff like you would treat an employee like an IBM, where you make sure they're there for the long haul and they're well taken care of. I don't think anything's happened in that department, but if I'm wrong or something has been, please correct me.
Yeah, I think that most bartenders aren't really aware of the options that they have or like what they can do for themselves. And I think that bringing awareness to that is super important. So great point. Something that, again, like from my perspective now, being an ambassador, like something that an event that we can throw for people to actually like teach them about their rights or, like what tax bracket the benefits that they can gain something from, or, I was talking about financial planning earlier, and to your case in point.
Right, and I agree. I think we should have like a health union for bartenders because mentally, as you said, and physically, it's very taxing. And we just show up. We're just taught, show up. You're hurting, show up. You just broke up with your friend, show up and soothe someone else. We're the soothers, but who pours into us? We pour into everyone else, literally, but who pours into us? So I think that's a good point. We definitely need to move forward with the healthcare.
Love that. Right. Yeah. We have one more question? Yes, ma'am.
Got it. Hi, Robin Dion, entertainment. I'll just leave it at that. But I'm also a chocolate tender. I'm going to say that. I work for Pia Days. I work with her, but industry-wise, when you start a business, Pia Days is chocolate tenders. Lonnie, you are your business. When you expand, I wanted to ask the chef this, but he's not here. When you expand your business, how do you cultivate bringing in talent that has the same initiatives and thought process and drive that you have to expand your business? Because otherwise, then you're just still working, you're yourself working as an LLC, and you can't do it all. So I want to between the two of you. And I've been a brand ambassador, so Edwin, we cool. We good.
I literally was having this conversation with someone I work with at an event that I did last Saturday. And she had someone who she was like, went to recommend as a bartender. And I was like, straight up, I personally need to see them work. I've been doing this for a long enough time that I know what I'm looking for. For me, I don't need a lot of people to do what I do. You know, sometimes we work in small teams, but that person is representing us when they're out there. So a recommendation is great, but like there's things I need to see. And when I was running down my list to her, I was like, you know, I need to see something go wrong. And then someone asked them a question, and then an order comes in, and then someone's talking to them right now, and they're saying, yeah, tell me about how that date went last time, and they're still stirring the drink. I need to see all that. I think multitasking is kind of a joke, but we got to do it. And so it's like, how do you keep your calm under pressure? I think that thing that I was able to do, and I don't know if it's a taught skill or learned skill, but calm under pressure. And then for me, it's like I need to still see those things because I'm having someone go out there representing me. So I'm never going to have someone like get a gig and then send somebody out on the word of someone who I even trust. Like I got to see it myself. So because we don't have chances in some of these bigger avenues to make a mistake. We can't make a mistake with a big client and then like continue to get good work. So you got to make sure someone's representing you. Work ethic is something that people still have, even though people think they got rid of it. People still have work ethic. I think it's just about identifying it and then incentivizing people to want to do something fun. For me, it's like, I'm never going to be a person who's like this stickler. I want you to be able to have a good time while you're doing that, while you're working with me or working for me. And that's just how I operate. And so I think if people understand that, then you'll get people who want to do a good job because you're treating them well and respecting them, as Edwin was saying earlier. So, yeah.
Yes, I agree 100%. Every bartender that has worked for me, I've handpicked. Like, I know them, I've worked with them, I've seen them. I will go to a bar, and if you're an amazing bartender, I will personally reach out to you, and I will work alongside you to see how you are. You know, you can be one way at a bar, at a social event, but when you're next to someone, stick to stick, are you able to communicate? Are you coordinated? Are you keeping the bar clean? So as of now, I do that personally. I do need to shift into, you know, letting that go, but, you know, it's my baby. My baby's going to be 13, a teenager soon, so I've grown up with her. But it's a matter of picking people that emulate you and leading by example. You know, showing up, showing the way you want to be. That's how I show up, and that's what I expect of you. So it's one thing to just say, oh, this is what Chocolate Tenders is, but it's another to actually be in action alongside them. Now, there does need to be some sort of, perhaps, I don't know, way to convey that without me being there personally. And that's what I'm phasing into, learning how it is to not be so hands-on. But because it is so dear to me right now, the best way I have done it is to personally pick the people that represent me and to lead by example.
Thank you for that. All right. We have Mr. Terrill Patterson. Come on down.
Whoop, whoop. All right.
Owner of Relly's Hospitality, Atlanta, Georgia.
Ozzy, can y'all hear me? Hello, everybody.
Hello, how are you feeling?
I'm wonderful. Thank you.
All right, you tell us a little bit about the hospitality business, past, present, and future.
All right, so everybody, my name's Terrill Patterson, owner of Relly's Hospitality. We are based out of Atlanta, Georgia. We have a database of 375 bartenders and servers in Metro Atlanta and growing in other cities where we have our national cocktail competitions. I've seen a lot throughout the years. I've been in the industry for over, about 22 years now. And what I've seen in the past, my past that I'm going to go to is just a little bit before COVID in Atlanta first, and then I'll kind of speak about what I've seen across the country. In Atlanta, there were a lot of great restaurants. There was a lot of great servers, a lot of great bartenders and chefs, right? Everybody was moving in a forward direction. It was hard to get behind the bar, right? I had to serve, I had to train, I ain't make it, then I got on, they put me on a service well, I drowned, I got to get back on the floor, stuff like that. Like it really took a second to get behind the bar, but it was a reason because you had to know these cocktails, you had to be dope, and you had to be able to get through the trenches. I worked at this space called Strip in Atlantic Station, and it was really the Thunderdome. Like we doing 50,000 on a Friday, people crying on the line, the people in the back, chefs. You know how chefs talk, you know, servers, you know, crying and stuff. I'm like, who table I need to pick up? I'm trying to get this money, you know. That's what it was back then. And then, unfortunately, COVID happened, right? And it took a dive. Now, Atlanta was always open. I know this is Cali. I'm sorry, guys.
Atlanta was
we
open.
stayed open. Your boy got
Atlanta
a
was
check.
open.
I'm going to tell you, y'all was flying. Some of y'all was flying out there to Atlanta. I don't play. Yeah, we was wide open.
They shut down for 1 week. That was it. 1 week.
We're shut down.
But during that time, what people need to understand, it's not like, and now I'm going to go to just around everywhere. It's not like hospitality is trash, right? It's not like the industry just took a deep dive. Let's not say that. Because if that's the case, we wouldn't have Michelin star restaurants. We wouldn't have all these dope people up here. We wouldn't have these opportunities. We wouldn't have brands spending their hard money and time to do events like this. We wouldn't have people trying to be bartenders, trying to be chefs. We wouldn't have all these TV shows about it. You know what I mean? So it didn't take a dive, but it kind of went flat. Like for a minute, nobody tried to like go harder. Because if you think about it, when we came out of COVID, one, we lost a lot of people just like human beings. Let's just be honest. We lost human beings, a lot of people. The earth went on a pause, you know, no smog. We had birds chirping. We got smog in Atlanta too, okay? We had birds chirping outside. I'm like, man, stand still. But while all that's going on, we lost all those people, all those bartenders and servers that was dope, working hard. Remember, you had to work hard to get that position. And it's like nerve-wracking. So they took a job somewhere else. They paid you to stay at home. I went to, got a couple free courses, you know. I know y'all know about the free courses. If you didn't, you messed up on that. But those people went and started doing other things. And then we opened back up. The restaurants were failing, okay? When they were opening up, they had no staff. So they were just putting people in there. And then people lost their jobs, right? So then you coming in and you ain't never served a table in your life. You making $400-$500 a night. You bartending, you trash. I'm just saying, y'all was trash. Y'all was trash, but I was happy y'all was there and I had that check, so I'm gonna give you $100, okay? But think about this. You're getting that all day for a year, and then somebody comes in and say, well, the hospitality, you're not really that good. Like, what you talking about? My bank account banging. I'm good. I don't need to do this. I don't need craft cocktails. I don't need an elevated menu to make for these people. They're going to give me a check. No, you didn't take the time. And it's no knock to nobody. Get your money, get your job, feed your kids, do all that, but try to learn more. So that's where we were. Sorry, I had to get that out. You know what I'm saying? Where we can go is these cities, Atlanta, Houston, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, Miami, New Orleans. Like going into the future, there's a lot of big games, big events. The United States is getting a lot of events. I know Atlanta, we getting the World Cup next year. Houston getting the World Cup. LA getting the World Cup. Y'all getting the Olympics. You know, huh? Oh yeah, y'all getting everything. I'm trying to come out there. I ain't gonna step on Pia Days stuff here. I'm gonna stay in Atlanta. Okay, I said I was gonna stay in Atlanta. But you have all this stuff coming, and the biggest thing is training. Everybody has to go back to training. Everybody has to go back. Do y'all remember when you went to work and that you had to come in like 45 minutes early so you can sit down and have the what's the talk? Pre-shift. Y'all do pre-shift out here? Yeah. So we're a little behind then, but everybody in here do a pre-shift. So you need that. You need the pre-shift. You need the trainings, right? Trainings. I say training all day, and I know people hate it, but what you don't understand is if you don't train into a system, when the stuff hits the fan, that's why you had a system, right? Yeah, y'all all dope. Everybody bartends a great way. Everybody chefs the way they want to chef. The reason why that head chef has it down to a T, like, is because of your movements. Everything is set in a specific way so you don't waste time moving around. Everything is set for a certain reason, and you might think it's crap. You're like, I ain't gonna do that. Whatever, I'm dope. Yeah, but when it hit the fan and it's 50 of y'all at the bar like it is right now, you know what I'm saying? If it ain't set proper, you ain't getting them drinks out, which means you losing money every 30 seconds. If you ain't making that drink, that's $10 times, what, 3 people behind the bar, that's $30. Every couple minutes, that's a couple $1,000s in a day that the bar not getting. And then, of course, you know, you're in the industry, you might, you know, the food might be messed up, so you might have to slide a drink here and there. You know how it be. But let me digress. Let me get back on track. You supposed to keep me on track now, okay?
You you had a couple of uh-huhs, and so I was letting you go.
No. All right, let me back up. So training is the best thing that's needed. I believe that the restaurant hospitality industry, and not just restaurants. When I say hospitality, I'm not just talking about restaurants or events. I'm talking about hospitals. I'm talking about if you're a therapist, you have an office. Anything that have an office, you have to deal with people. It's hospitality. It is a lifestyle. You got to be open if you're in this industry. You want people to come spend their money, and it's hard as heck to get. And you got an attitude when they walk through the door. I'm not giving you my bread. I work hard for it. Okay, I'm gonna spend that money for people who care about me. I'll bust a check if I have it. I ain't got it. I got the suit on, but I ain't got it like that.
All right.
But I want to put my money where I feel welcomed. And that's anything. If I get on the bus and the guy says, hello, man, how's your day? You never know how somebody's day is going. We are humans. Do y'all know that in human nature, if you don't talk to somebody or be around anybody, that you will automatically bump into somebody for human contact? Did y'all know that? So we live off of each other. So let me bring it back again. I'm about to see, I be going. The thing is this, we need to get to where we need to go. I believe everyone needs to, one, have the trainings and have their systems and get it back to how it was pre-COVID, but then also elevate and go to, if you know somebody, you have to frequent their establishments. Back to what Lonnie was saying. These small businesses, they need your help and your money, okay? They do a lot of things to stay open. Yeah, there's big brands and you're saying, let's go local, but those big brands need money too. You know what I'm saying? There is no restaurants if brands don't come through and support. Like we have Jim Beam here at the Gathering Spot, Los Angeles, California. I'm like 2,000 miles away. I never met Edwin in my life. Never met none of these people. Well, I met Aiyesha. Hey, y'all here though, right? I have never met any of you guys. I'm so happy that you are all here. That's the power of social media. You know, that's the power of connection. That's a part of doing things right, the right way, even if it's hard. That is supporting your local places, like the Gathering Spot in Atlanta helped me get to where I am now. And we're in here in LA, and they gave me the space to talk to people. And I am so happy to have all you here and all these ears to hear what I wanted to say and what Pia wanted to say and what Chef Jay wanted to say. I didn't know he was cooking for Otani. What? He just gonna drop that last second.
Just name drop that.
Dang, I almost fell on the floor. Edwin here. We have Lonnie. Aiyesha came in to moderate this. I know her from back in the day when we were doing our acting, and she out here in LA. And just look at the togetherness. If you do it right, you train, you respect people, you have a system, you can succeed. That's what I got.
All right, give it up. I love that. He up here preaching. Okay. All right, so we are a little tight on time. So if we have maybe one question for Terrill, anybody? Are we good? Yeah. All right. You said a lot. You know, they ain't got no questions for you. You said it all.
I said it all. Let me drop this mic. I'm just kidding. I ain't trying to get charged for that. Yeah. Uh-oh. We got one.
We do. You've been full of questions, and I love it.
We got one question. Hold on. We got the mic
Oh,
coming
we have
for
it
you.
right here.
This is my guy Reggie, right over here.
Thank you so much.
See, look, this is community. This is togetherness. This is my friend Reggie. He came in today. I said, "Who you here with?" He's like, "Myself." I was like, "Oh, I need you to pass this mic for you, for me. Thank you, brother."
Yes, sir.
So Relly's, tell me about Relly's hospitality. What is it? What's its ethics? What's its purpose for the hospitality industry as a whole?
He had questions all day. That boy cooking today. Okay, so Relly's Hospitality. We are a premium staffing company out of Atlanta, Georgia. We have a lot of premium clients. We work hard and we play hard. Okay, we don't mix and mingle on the job. Our thing is to always be uplifting the people in the industry. Each bartender and each server that works with us, because we're mainly bartenders and servers front of the house, each of them have to have that it factor, okay? You got to be able to trust them. You know, we have a lot of clients that you have to be able to trust people going into your house, okay? You have to be about yourself. You have to be about growing and learning. If you can't grow and learn, you can't be with us just because of I'm a Black-owned company. So I have to be damn near perfect every time because I get one bad review and it's a wrap. I don't have a second chance. No matter, I've been in business for 11 years. I get one bad one and it's a wrap. So my thing for us is always be able to do the right thing even when nobody is looking. Okay. What was the other part of that?
No, that was it. You're a staffing company. Yeah, you tell me on.
Also, one thing is it's Relly's Hospitality, but we did finally open up our nonprofit, which is the Relly's Foundation, and that is to give back to the hospitality industry. If a bartender gets hurt, he can't go to work. Try to keep a lot of these events low to no cost, okay? I love to try to keep it, at any of our events, we always try to have a lot of tickets that are free for industry, you know, or we try to do little outings that you can have fun, but also you got to learn something too. Like we're all here today, we're on this panel. We got a dope cocktail competition coming, but you also got to learn something too, because we have brands that are coming in and spending their hard-earned money or hard-earned money. They had to work hard to get it, so it was earned. Their hard-earned money, but just because we're out here having fun, we need to always be learning something. So that's what I got to say about that.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And I just want to say thank you guys for being a wonderful audience. I know a lot of you guys are here probably for the cocktail competition. We had this portion in front of it, and you guys have asked some wonderful, great questions. Thank you to our panelists. We appreciate it, all the knowledge that you've given and provided to everyone here. So thank you guys.
All right. I'm going to say,
thanks for having us.
Thank you.
I'm going to say one thing. I want to say thank you all for coming out. This was the Hospitality Town Hall panel about the hospitality industry, past, present, and future in Los Angeles, California at the Gathering Spot. This is brought to you by Relly's Hospitality, the Relly's Foundation. We also have Jim Beam and Chosen to Conquer. Okay, thank you all. If you guys would like to follow us, we're at Relly's Hospitality. This will be on YouTube. Thank you so much. We're about to get ready for the cocktail competition. Woo! But we got something nice for you while we flip this broom. I'll see you all. Thank you.